Okay, my phone says 6 o'clock, my computer says 1 minute to, so we'll take it as 6 o'clock. Welcome to the meeting of Bursledon, Hamble, and Hound Area Committee. Sorry, Tim. Welcome, everyone. We'll do a quick introductions and housekeeping. I'm Tonya Craig, I'm chair of this meeting. I'm also Borough Councillor for Bursledon. On the opposite side, nearest you, is Cllr O'Sullivan, who's a member of Bursledon, Alison from Netley and Hamble, Steve, also a member from Bursledon and vice chair of this committee, and Malcolm Cross and Cllr Jarvis, members for Hamble and Hound. And I'm gonna miss your names now because they're not turned around. Sorry. Nearest the screen, we've got Planning Officer Claire Campbell-Best, Rachel Morris, and Rebecca Altman next to me. On my left is Ross McLean, who's the local area manager, Catherine Collins from Democratic Service, and tonight we have Joe Stenning, and I think it's your first time here, Joe, so welcome. Housekeeping, we're not expecting any fire alarms to go off, so if they do, we've got doors behind the curtains there or where you came in, and should anyone need the toilet, they're out the doors and across the corridor on the other side. Okay, we have no apologies for absence. Actually, before I start the meeting, I always forget this bit. I have to read this out legally. Councillors are reminded to take part in this meeting. You must have an open mind so that you can take all the relevant considerations presented to the meeting into account in reaching your decision. By attending today, you have decided that you will listen to all the points of view expressed by the speakers and public and are able to participate and cannot be seen to have a predetermined the application. This meeting will be recorded and will be uploaded to the Council's website. If any members of the public prefer not to be recorded, then do please contact a member of staff. If you are planning on filming or recording the meeting, then please do let us know so that we can ensure you're not filming members of the public that do not wish to be filmed. The Chair reserves the right to ask any filming considered intrusive to be stopped. More information is on the Council website. Okay, public participation, we've got Ian. If you'd like to come to the front, Ian, we've got 3 minutes for you.
On the Hamble Planning Committee, and I'll read from notes to make sure I get it in the 3 minutes and don't miss any important things out. I'm here this evening to speak about Hamble Conservation Area and the documents we recently sent to you that I hope you have a chance to read. 2 years ago, we gave members of this committee a tour of the conservation area to show our concerns about some individual planning permissions that were damaging the area. Members were surprised, in some cases shocked, at what had happened. Tonya was very supportive afterwards and followed this up. I think even she was astonished at some of the things we found, and she was very good at thank you for following it up. We provided the earlier document to members that weren't present at that time. Soon there will be a review of the Hamble Conservation Area document. The Parish Council does not want it to be a paper exercise, but address its concerns. The Parish Council offered to assist by financing a specialist consultant to aid this, giving background local knowledge, but it was politely declined. Therefore, we have sent an additional document highlighting the problems and gives local background information to help in its revision, so it is effective in protecting the conservation area. This is not a criticism of planning assessments, but when a decision is made that is different to previous officers' decision, it can have a significant effect and set a precedent for the conservation area. For example, when we went round the last time, an applicant for over 10 years was seeking permission to cut down a 200-year-old oak tree there, and it was continually refused. Then suddenly, to all our surprise, it was permitted to be cut down. Once it's gone, we can't do anything about it. And what another surprise. What's being built next to it? A house now, a dwelling. In the last 208 review document, there were 3 recommendations. None were implemented. One was the RAF footpath, the condition of it. 15 years later, Ross and Tonya and the Parish Council are still trying to sort that out. Another example in there that highlighted a very important feature of Hamble Conservation Area was the High Street wall comes in entrance to the village. What has happened there? It needed to be repaired, and it was allowed to put a fence there, not replace the wall as it was. We're asking for improvements in the Borough Council systems and monitoring, so the review does not permit the current damaging problems to our conservation area to continue. Also, we're asking for joined-up approaches between Eastleigh Borough Council's functions. For example, Liz has been working with us about the unsightly views of waste bins, as we're meant to be a tourist attraction coming down the lower high street there, and there needs to be addressing there. We're trying to sort it, but there does need to be better liaison between departments like planning and waste management. We seek member support for our latest document and its approach, especially keeping it on your agenda so as to improve the monitoring in the future. I'm very willing to answer any questions if you want clarification.
Just to say, Ian, I spoke to you before this meeting. In a meeting on Tuesday, I have asked that the Parish Council, yourself and the clerk, be consulted when we actually do that. You should be consulted when we put that policy anyway, and I've been assured that we would find your input, local knowledge, useful. So we will invite you when we get that policy out to have a look at it.
We would like the input beforehand, before the consultation period.
I wasn't there then, Ian. I wasn't there then, but we will make sure that you're at that meeting and put those things in place properly. We've been disappointed on some of the applications that have been approved as well. And I am going to follow that wall up, because the wall came down and they put the fence up, and we were told that it wasn't acceptable and they were going to be made to put the wall back up. So I'm going to chase that one.
If you read our document, it's in there in much more detail.
Yeah, I will have a look at that. But thank you for coming down and speaking to us here.
Well, apologies, I've got another commitment, so I can't
No,
stay.
you carry on. Nice to see you. Okay, there's nothing else. Anybody else in the public wanting to speak on something that's not on the agenda? No. Okay. Declarations of interest. Members, any declarations of interest? I have one declaration of interest for Capstan House. Just the applicant lives opposite my late father, so I know her, just to say hello to. It doesn't change my view on the application, so I will continue to remain in the room and vote on it. Okay, minutes of the previous meeting. Members, any questions, queries, inaccuracies? No? Steve?
Thank you, Chair. I'll recommend approval as set out.
Thank you, Jane.
Happy to second that, Chair.
Anybody else got any comments, things they want to say? No? Okay, so it's been recommended and seconded. All those in favour accepting the minutes? That is everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, I don't have any chair's announcements today, so we'll move over to the report of the local area manager. Ross, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. 6 recommendations in total for my report. I'll just go through one by one and then I'll let you guys have a chat. First one is to note the spend of £455 for a new bin that's already been installed on Lowford Hill. So that's a retrospective request. Secondly is the approval of the allocation of £7,500 from reserves to introduce permit control systems and a ticket machine at the Lowford Centre car park. Thirdly, to approve the reallocation of developer contributions previously allocated to Bursledon Parish Council for the tennis court refurbishment at Long Lane to go to the LTA, who are leading on the refurbishment and renovation of the tennis court. To note, the annual grant for Bursledon Windmill to the Hampshire Cultural Trust has been withdrawn from 23-24. Finally, the last 2 points, to approve the proposed fees and charges as set out in Appendix 1, specific to Hamble Square car park. And finally, to note some of the achievements that the LAC have funded and supported in the last few months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ross. Steve?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to point out to people in the audience and just to confirm that the ticket machines for Lowford Car Park are actually not for charging, but for maintaining an appropriate flow of traffic over the daytime period. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Those machines that are being installed are a permit machine. There's been a permit system down that's not been working terribly well, and this will free up spaces, hopefully, for users of the community centre. So you'll end up putting in your number plate into the machine, and it's a free ticket, in effect, for 3 hours, I believe.
In that case, Chair, can we ensure that on the public relations side that message actually gets out to residents so that they're not scared that they're going to suddenly be charged?
We will be doing notifications around that. Steve and Mike will be asked to look at that, because people are going in there and they're parking in the morning, getting a bus over to Southampton and working all day, and it doesn't help our residents support the local businesses, which is what that indeed was for. So we will be doing something around that. Anybody else? Anything? Just to say on the fees and charges for the Hamble Square car park, that is going up. The free half an hour will still remain, and going up in line with Hamble Parish's fees for the foreshore one. Okay. Any other comments? Liz, sorry.
Just to say I'm really pleased that the 30 minutes free parking will remain, because it's so important for the local businesses. So excellent.
Jane?
And the new litter bin at top of Lowford Hill, which I can see from my bedroom window, is much appreciated, because it was vandalised quite a lot, the one on the post. And, neighbours had complained they'd been woken up at, 3 o'clock in the morning by youth swinging on it and hitting it with things. So the more robust one is welcome. Thank you.
Let's hope the youths actually use it when they pass it now then. Okay. I'm going to propose that we accept this as written out. Do I have a seconder? That's Malcolm. All those in favour of accepting? That's everybody. Thank you very much. So we're going to do the presentation on planning guidelines. Rebecca? Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll just a brief presentation on the factors we have to take into account in determining planning applications. We have to determine them on planning grounds and in accordance with the development plan, which for Eastleigh is the Eastleigh Borough Local Plan 2016 to 2036 and the Hampshire Minerals and Waste Plan. And then there are other relevant considerations and documents that we have include the supplementary planning documents such as quality places, residential parking standards and planning obligations, and then government policy including the National Planning Policy Framework and policy guidance. The National Planning Policy Framework has a number of key objectives in it, and this is just a few of them, which includes delivering sustainable development, meeting housing need, boosting the economy, requiring high standards of design and mitigating impacts. And it's all based around a presumption in favour of sustainable development, which includes economic, social and environmental factors considered together. In terms of other material considerations that we take into account when determining applications, that can include things like the planning history of a site, previous application decisions and appeal decisions, policies specific to those sites, other matters such as highways, residential amenity, biodiversity, contaminated land and pollution issues, consultation comments and third-party comments from the public, precedent from case law, and in terms of housing schemes, we have to look at the Council's 5-year housing land supply. In terms of issues we can't take into account, this would include, this is just an example list, but things such as moral and racial and religious views, devaluation of property, loss of view, breaches of covenants and other legal matters, and personal views of applicants and civil matters. And in terms of the different types of applications we have, these can include full applications where all matters are considered, And particularly relevant tonight, we've got a couple of listed building applications where the only consideration for those is the impact on the actual listed building itself. Then following that, you get the discharge of conditions applications, which have to meet, which means that conditions have to meet the 6 tests, which means they have to be necessary, relevant to planning, relevant to the development being permitted, enforceable, precise, and reasonable in all respects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. We're going straight on to planning application for the land north side of Grange Road. Rachel, welcome.
Good evening, members. Good evening, everyone. This is agenda item 8 for land to the north side of Grange Road, which is the variation to condition 2 to amend approved drawings, including the floor plans, elevation, location of a pumping station, of the reserve matters of an outline permission for 89 dwellings. So the key changes proposed in this application is the movement of a pumping station, the addition of an electrical substation, amendments to plots 82 and 85 so that they become detached, demonstration of the position of some boundary treatments, alterations of levels, removal of internal footpaths, single doors to be added to garages, internal alterations to dwellings, elevational changes to brickwork, and amendment of window positions. So we saw this at the last LAC, and it was deferred. So the reason for deferral was to seek more information on the following matters. Clarification on the removal of footpaths, parking at the substation, noise at the substation, and what acoustic attenuation would be in place, and the proximity of the substation to the leap. So just quickly going over the site location again, this is the site location outlined in red. And this is the site plan as was approved previously on the original Reserve Matters application. So this is what we have in front of us tonight. So I've just highlighted where the pumping station has been moved to with the purple circle, if I laser it for you. So here is the pumping station, the studs, the leap, and the substation there, which does also include the parking. So the site plan removes internal footpaths in front of plots 22 to 32 and 60 to 66. These footpaths are not required for the movement around the site, as the footpaths still remain on the opposite side of the road. And as the road is not to be adopted, the space the footpath will release can alternatively be used for extra defensible front garden space and a more greener environment. The footpaths surrounding the leap were previously removed in error and have been reinstalled to the drawing, as you can see on here. The substation operators request parking, so their maintenance personnel have safe, locally available parking, and that space has been provided, and you can see that on the plan. It's highlighted in pink. This would be off the carriageway, so not an obstruction. This is an additional space, and so wouldn't take away from the residential parking. The design of the substation has since been revised, and there's now no objection from Environmental Health. A submitted acoustic note confirms that to minimise the impacts on the sensitive receptors, the substation is to be mounted on 1 metre deep concrete base, housed in 215mm thick solid brick-walled enclosure with a clay tiled roof, and the design of the substation continues to not be a dominant addition to the street scene. It has a hipped roof as well, which adds some character. And although the substation is proposed at a suitable distance of approximately 25 metres from the leap, additional planting along the southern edge of the leap is also proposed, which also can be seen on the plan. So, and then just going to the south side of the plan, just to highlight, again, as previously, the blue rings highlight the dwellings to be detached. So The recommendation is to permit with conditions in the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything on file from objectors at all?
Sorry, what do you mean by that?
Have you had any members of the public write an objection?
We did have objectives, but that is detailed in the report. They were mainly concerned about the substation, but that's now since been addressed.
Okay. It's only we had a member of the public say that they were going to come this evening to speak an objection to this, but they've not actually turned up. So I was just wanting to make sure that we haven't got any objections on here that we should be aware of. If they're not here, we can't take them. So we have Lawrence Steele. If you'd like to come to the front, you have 3 minutes, Lawrence, please.
Good evening, members of the committee and members of the public. My name is Lawrence Steele and I am the Senior Technical Manager at Olivia Homes. It is my job to ensure the planning designs can be built and to provide a package of information that my construction team can build from. In taking the scheme from planning status to a technical stroke build status, it has been necessary to make minor alterations to the scheme to get the design to work from both legislative and fundamental design stroke build perspectives. I would like to take the next few minutes to provide more background as to why we feel these changes are necessary. I would like to add that we bought the site with a planning consent already in place, and therefore the original design intent did not fully reflect our usual approach with regard to the following items, and in some instances nor did fundamental drainage design work, hence the following amendments. The house footprint sizes, we have proposed subtle changes to the houses to make the dimensions work with coordinating brick sizes. By using coordinating brick sizes, it leads to less brick wastage, less brick manufacturing, as we don't have to allow for the wastage, and therefore less brick waste being removed from the site, which helps the environment with less brick kiln usage and reduced vehicle movements as a result. In addition, the houses will look better by not having small slithers of cut bricks, all because we have managed to work with coordinated brick sizes. Fenestration changes that we proposed are minor changes to the odd window only here and there. We have done this to achieve optimum natural light within the habitable rooms in order for the purchasers of the homes to enjoy a better, brighter and healthier environment within their new home. We've also added personal access doors to the rear of garages to allow a more practical connection between rear gardens and where lawn mowers may be stored, all for the benefit of the residents. Levels. We have slightly amended the levels to work with the drainage network designed to work efficiently for the development, due to the original drainage strategy simply not working with the topography of the site. Similarly, the levels of the terrace units of plots 42 to 43 and 45 to 47 has seen a 225mm step or a 9-inch step introduced to enable their relationship to work better with existing ground levels and to ensure that they do not stick out of the ground by unnecessary heights. Allied to the ground levels, retaining wall features have been added to the scheme as the design has been worked up from planning drawings to a buildable design. In doing this, and in conjunction with the drainage levels, we have designed out retaining structures where possible, thus reducing their frequency on this sloping site, keeping a more natural relationship between the dwellings and the existing ground levels. Moving on to drainage, whilst working up a buildable design, and as touched on briefly before, the drainage network has been designed to efficiently serve the development and importantly has seen the drainage pump relocated to the lower northern west part of the site where it is actually needed, not at the top of the site. This pump, all concealed below ground level, has storage capacity for the dwellings it serves for 24 hours, features 2 pumps should one pump fail, is connected by phone line to the pump manufacturer's monitoring station and complete with amber warning light for the neighbouring homeowners to further report any mishaps should they occur. Furthermore, it has a sealed manhole lid to the storage chamber to prevent leaks just in case any of the before mentioned protection measures don't deal with any unforeseen events. Substation. Where the drainage pump was originally shown...
Have you got much more, Lawrence? Because you've done 3.5.
Couple of items.
Can I just ask you to sort of highlight them rather than read everything out?
Substation is now in place of the previously approved drainage pump location. We have enhanced landscaping around the substation, including additional hedgerow between the leap and the substation. Distance between the leap and substation is 25 metres, so a good distance away. We've had a specific acoustic survey commissioned. This is detailed substantial concrete slab foundations, a concrete slab over the roof, concrete plain clay roof tiles and 9 inches of external brickwork, which will help to attenuate any sound from the substation. The pitched roof to the substation mimics the local vernacular. The parking station is an addition to existing parking, solely there for the substation operator. Substation operator will only be attending site a maximum of 3 times every year. Boundary treatments.
I'm going to have to stop you there. That's 4.5 minutes. I've been generous. So
Okay.
I'll stop you there because it's probably just highlighting what we've seen previous anyway.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca has found the objector on file, so I'm just going to ask her just to highlight what was there to make sure that we have heard those objections.
Yeah, so this objector, she wrote in objection right at the beginning of the process, and it's detailed in Rachel's committee report. The main concern she raised related to the electric substation and potential impacts of that, along with sort of comments about whether this is a suitable site for housing, and general concerns about the development. So this has all been addressed in the committee report, and we haven't received any new further representations from this woman since.
Thank you, Rebecca. I just wanted to be fair in case she was stuck in traffic or anything like that. So I wanted to be fair that we'd heard them and made sure that they were listened to. Okay, members. Steve.
Chair, as far as I'm aware, because we deferred this for information, further information on particular issues, as far as I can see, and I'd like to just confirm, there aren't really any other issues that we can raise at this point, because otherwise we would have done so last time, and the issues have been addressed as far as I'm concerned. So I'd be happy to recommend approval. The principle is already there for housing and has been for some time, and obviously there's a different developer and they want to make sure that it meets their standards, and I understand what you're saying there, that's fine. So occasionally we get these applications to change a few things. We did have concerns, those have been addressed, so I'm happy to approve.
Is that a proposed, Steve? Do you want to talk on it, Malcolm?
Yes, it's really to say they have conformed to what we requested about the substation and the footpath and the pump, so I'm quite happy with supporting.
Any other members want to talk on this one? No, I'm disappointed in the fact that not all the roads are going to be adopted on here. And it's a lot of developers come in, put these unadopted roads in, they disappear, and we have lots of issues, whether it's the management company or the actual residents that are left there. So it is one of my bugbears in and around the whole of the borough, probably the whole country if I was anything to do with the whole country, but it's not a legal requirement. It's just a bugbear that I want to put on file. Just as well, members of the public, they know why we can't push it. It's not a legal requirement, but I would like to see more roads adopted than unadopted. Steve?
In on that and say, yes, I agree with you, all roads should be adopted. However, it's not county policy as I understand it. From what they're told nationally, they don't have to, if they don't have to adopt them, they really aren't adopting them. So as much as we at ground level in the locality might wish them all to be adopted, that ain't going to happen.
That's exactly, just wanted to make clear. But hopefully if the developer comes back and does other ones in the borough, then they might listen to it in the future. It's a plug. It's a plug. Okay, it's been proposed and seconded to accept. All those in favour of accepting. That's everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, next application is Capstan House. And is this Claire or Rachel again? Rachel.
Yeah, so this is agenda item 9 and 10. So they're both for Capstan House, and they're both for the installation of the walk-in freezer with associated pergola. But are split into two applications, a full application and a listed building application. So you would need to take two separate decisions, but I'm going to present them together, if that's okay. So just a quick update regarding the listed building application. The press notice was unfortunately missed, so the consultation period has been open since the beginning of November, but only the press notice was missed. So that's open until 22nd of December. So we will update the recommendation so that subject to the completion of that process, we will delegate back to the Service Director of Planning and Environment in conjunction with the Chair and Vice Chair to grant listed building consent. So it's just that small press notice was missed, unfortunately, but like I say, consultation has been open for about a month now. So to get into the site location, you can see the site outlined in red here on the High Street, and here you can see there is the freezer, and the small word there says condenser. So the plans here show this is the proposed, well, the freezer's in place, but the proposed plans is the freezer with the associated pergola, which includes a sedum roof and a trellis to both sides of the freezer. And then this is the condenser elevations. So here is the site photographs. 1 and 2 shows the freezer with the condenser in place here. Photo 1, you can see the condenser, but the proposal is to move that to somewhere else on the site. So photo 1 and 2 shows the freezer in place. 3 shows the adjacent public house walk-in freezer. Number 4, you can see from the seating area of the passy shop, and this section here is where the freezer is, so it's around the corner. And number 5 is just the street scene where the freezer isn't visible from. So the freezer, as I've just mentioned, doesn't have any public vantage points from outside the site. The pergola will mostly screen the freezer from private views inside the site and the adjacent gardens. Moreover, this provides a biodiversity enhancement. The freezer is not attached to any building, so the integrity of the listed buildings are unharmed, and a condition requiring the freezer's removal has been attached for when it becomes redundant. Given the commercial nature of the site in the High Street and similar structures in the immediate area, it's considered an appropriate location for the development, and through additional screening would not harm the character and appearance of the surrounding area. And the condenser is proposed to be relocated away from the freezer, further away from receptors, and this has received a no objection from our environmental health team. So again, as I've said, split into two decisions. The recommendation for the full is to permit with conditions in the report, and as I outlined at the beginning, for the listed building to delegate back to the Service Director of Planning and Environment in conjunction the Chair and Vice Chair to grant listed building consent, and that is subject to the consultation period fully closing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no objections come in for this.
I think there might have been 2 objections. I can quickly check my report.
It was. I was told that somebody was writing in for the listed building one. So.
Oh, okay. There's 3 objections on the full application, and there was 1 objection. I'll just check that, but that's from memory. Yeah, 1 objection on the listed building and 3 objections on the full.
They've all been dealt with properly, so that's fine. Nobody listed to speak. Did you want to add anything? No? Okay. Members, please. Liz.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's really important that we support local businesses in Hamble. It's a very difficult time for them, and a lot of them are struggling, and we need to make it as easy as possible for them to trade and to continue to trade. My only concern with this application would be the listed building aspect. because I understand the owner did mention that they were worried about the impact on their building, which is Pump Cottage, but it's my understanding that if the condenser is moved, if it's relocated, then there is no longer an issue for the listed building. Is that correct?
So the freezer itself isn't attached to Pump Cottage, and I think that the owner of Pump Cottage was concerned about the vibrations from the condenser. So that is the condenser is the noisiest aspect of the application, and that is being proposed to be moved around the side away from Pump Cottage, and also isn't it wouldn't affect Pump Cottage, and it also won't affect the Capstan House listed building either.
Okay. The only other thing I would mention is that I'm not sure about the comparison with the pub next door, because that's not a listed building, is it? So it's kind of a strange comparison, but at the same time, I can't see any reason to object to this application, presuming that the listed building consent is given.
Eve.
Joan, if that was a proposal to accept, I'm happy to second it. If not, I'll propose that we agree it with the conditions and the extra condition that's mentioned in the recommendation. Yes, I am. If that's okay, if we can do both at the same time, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you have to bear in mind, Liz is right. Hamble village itself, beautiful as it is, relies so heavily on the small businesses that are in that village. And they all have to operate. And it's a little bit like you see a swan going along a lake, and on top it's serene and everything looks lovely and quaint, especially this time of the year when the weather's cold and everybody's wrapped up. But underneath, they're going mad, the feet are going. And it's a little bit like that with businesses in a small village like this, that from the road you don't see anything. You've got your listed buildings, you've got a lovely shop fronts and pubs and so on. But behind, in the gardens, the small back areas, there's so much goes on for these small businesses. And we need to ensure that they can do what they need to do. And I think all the conditions are rightly being put in and are met. And I think that this will help the business to flourish. And it's not going to really impact on the surrounding area. So that is why I'm happy to propose it. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Jane, please. Jane, then Malcolm.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just really to echo what Steve said, that it doesn't really impact on the street, well, it doesn't impact on the street scene at all. It's important for the business, but I also think they seem to be making every effort to make it as unobtrusive as possible, both from the point of neighbours with the noise and visually. So I'm very happy to support this.
Malcolm.
I'm quite happy to support this. The condenser is a concealed area. The walls will absorb the existing building, most of the noise is in the recess. They've done their utmost to conceal the walk-in freezer, so I'm quite happy to support.
Both Jane and Malcolm have said their support, but I haven't had a seconder yet. Malcolm seconded. Okay. Any other members want to talk on this one? Okay, I think the reason the freezer from the public house was mentioned is because it's in a conservation area, and that's why this application is before us. Obviously, it's a conservation area. By having that freezer in the back of the pub, it's already set that precedent that is acceptable. I did actually go down and I walked the site. Thank you very much for letting me walk around. And I'm just really pleased about the applicant in the way that they want to be neighbourly. The day I arrived, the condenser was still on the freezer as shown in the picture, but they'd gone through the trouble of actually putting soundproofing around it. So there was insulation around the condenser, so they are doing absolutely everything they can to be neighbourly whilst running a business. So it just goes to show the kind of neighbourly person that they are whilst they're running a business. It's not just a business that they don't care about the location. They really are supportive of the local area as well. Yeah, Malcolm seconded both as well. Yeah. Sorry, we're just going through seconding proposing. So yeah, it's I think it's all businesses need as much support as we can. It's an extremely busy place. There have been a few hiccups, and I think the owners and the staff have done everything they can. I'm going back to ice creams in the summer, where we had all the residents or all the visitors outside standing in the road, and the staff went actually out and sort of brought them all back into lines so they were queued properly to allow the traffic to go down. So, you know, I think it's a great little business down there. I have used it a few times. Great little business that they do everything they can to be neighbourly and friendly with everyone. So I'm very happy to support it as well. So it's been both applications, both 9 and 10, has been proposed by Steve and seconded by Malcolm. So all of those in favour of accepting the 2. That's everyone. So that has been accepted. Thank you very much. The next application is 2 applications we have for Home or House, which is the full and the listed again. Oh, there's 3 of them. That's confused me now. Oh yeah, listed for the windows, listed for the actual building itself. Are we having Cllr this time? Cllr, yes please.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Agenda items 11 and 12 are 2 applications for Home or House in Dodwell Lane for the construction of a single-storey side extension which would create a gym and home office. There is a householder application and a separate listed building consent application that require separate decisions but will be presented together this evening. There is one update to report to members, and this is the addition of a note to applicant as shown, and I'll read. The applicant is advised that any damage caused to the private access road as a result of the proposed development, either by contractor or delivery vehicles, should be repaired as soon as possible. This would be a private legal matter, and you would be advised to liaise with all other landowners. So moving on to the presentation. Home or House is located to the east of Dodwell Lane and accessed via a long private road. Shown is the proposed site layout. The arrows indicate where the proposed extension and vehicular gates would be located. The site is set within a generous plot and is located within designated countryside and is within the settlement gap between Hedge End and Bursledon. Home or House within the site is the listed building. So, yep, this is Home or House, the listed building. The garages attached are not in fact listed, and they replaced previous garages in the late 1990s. And the proposed extension would be sited at the end of the garage here. So here are the existing elevations to Home or House in plan format. And these are the proposed elevations with the extension located towards the end of the garage there. The extension would be modest and subservient and would be of a contemporary design. It would be finished in black charred larch cladding and black framed crittle windows and doors, which was at the request of the Built Heritage consultant. A condition has been applied to ensure details and samples of the intended materials are submitted and approved by the local planning authority prior to any construction. So here is the proposed floor plan. This is the extension here, and it will contain the gym, home office, and a small WC. And also shown on the screen are the plans for the vehicular gates. So there is also some relevant planning history attached to the site, shown up here. So back in 2017, permission was granted for a larger scheme, which comprised of a 2-storey outbuilding, a single-storey side extension as shown here, a swimming pool and tennis courts. The works were never implemented and the planning permission actually expired in March 2020. So the application for consideration today, which is here, has been scaled back, and it's just for the single-storey side extension. And as you can see, it would have similar dimensions to that of the previously approved extension. And just to note that this section here is as existing, that's not new development. So with regards to the extension and the impact upon Hamble House itself, so the photos on the screen, they were taken at the site entrance and show that the extension would be tucked away here and here and would be mostly out of view when approaching the house. As the extension would be modest with dark elevations, it would be recessed when compared to Hamble House, which is considered to complement the listed building and would not be a prominent feature. So with regards to the potential impact with the countryside and the settlement gap, as the proposal would be modest, it's not considered to impact upon the countryside or the gap. So the site located here is at the end of a road with dwellings suitably distanced from one another, and the extension itself would not be overly visible from wider public vantage points along these footpaths here within River Hamble Country Park. So moving on to residential amenity, the top two photos show Free Hills Cottage, just here, to the northwest. The proposed extension would be mostly screened by the existing boundary treatment, which is also situated on higher ground levels as shown in the top right photos. And the elevation to Free Hills Cottage has one window around here below the fence height, but it serves a bathroom and it's obscure glazed. Free Hills House is the neighbour located to the west of the site, which is here, and this is the garage block to that house, which can be seen in the bottom right photo. The house itself is sited further behind these trees. So as such, the extension is suitably distanced away and screened by the boundary treatment and would not impact upon these neighbours. So moving on to the key considerations and key points, the development accords with national and local planning policy. The design, form, layout and scale is appropriate and would not form a prominent feature within the site. The proposal wouldn't be harmful to the character of the listed building or the wider surrounding countryside or settlement gap, and there would be no unacceptable impact upon the amenity of the neighbouring residents. Therefore, the recommendation is to permit the householder application and grant listed building consent, both subjects to conditions as laid out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I just clarify that is agenda items 11, 12 and 13? Or is it just 11 and 12?
Yes, so 11 and 12 is the householder and listed building combined, and then there's a separate listed building application for the windows, which is separate in itself. So I didn't know if members wanted to do that first and the listed buildings separately.
It's just that we just need to make sure that members are absolutely clear on what they are voting for when they do this. This application is only in front of us anyway for transparency because we had the application here which was a swimming pool previously. So for transparency it's back, but we just need to make sure that we're absolutely clear on what we're voting for here. So over to members. Steve.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to recommend approval. I've listened to what Cllr has said, and it's a great listed building. And you're right, it doesn't appear to affect it. There's already been a previous application that was approved for something slightly different, plus a swimming pool, etc. I can understand at this time of year why they haven't applied for a swimming pool, to be honest. But it's not going to affect materially the protected building itself. So I've got no objection to recommending approval.
So you're recommending approval for 11 and 12?
Yes, the listed building consent and the application. The windows are separate, so we'll deal with those separately.
Yeah. Thank you. Liz.
Can I just ask if there have been any objections to this one?
There haven't been any objections to the householder or the listed building application for this application, so no.
It's a rather large site, so I would have been very surprised if we had. But yeah, it's right at the top of the hill, and it's got amazing views right the way across. It's a beautiful place to have a house there, actually. Malcolm. So you're seconding application 11 and 12. Thank you. Any more comments? Jane?
Yeah, just a quick one to say that, I mean, it is, like you say, it's a huge site. Everything's well screened. It's a very small extension, and it sounds as if they've sought good advice regarding, you know, cladding the extension and everything, so it'll be well in keeping. It's not going to affect the neighbours, so I'd be more than happy to approve.
Anybody else want to comment? No. So it's been proposed and seconded on both 11 and 12 agenda items. All those in favour of accepting? That's everybody. Thank you very much. And then are we going back to Claire? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is agenda item 13, and this is for the listed building consent for home or house itself, and it's the replacement of 5 ground floor single glazed windows with double glazed windows and the refurbishment of the existing casements. So shown on the screen is the location plan as discussed in the previous item, so it's just for transparency reasons. So shown on the screen now is the position of the windows on a site plan and the photos of the corresponding windows. So yeah, A, B, C, D, and hopefully you can see A, B, C, D, E there. The casements would be refurbished and the single glass windows would be replaced with double glazed windows. So here are the windows in plan format. As you can see, there would be no visible change between the existing and the proposed. The scheme is mainly to rejuvenate the casements and improve the thermal efficiency to the windows. So with regards to the impact on the listed building, the single glazed windows as shown, they're 3 millimetres thick. And these would be replaced with Fineo double glazing. So this is a company that specialises in windows of historic buildings. So the double glazing would be 7.7 millimetres thick, and it would be vacuum sealed within these casements. And then the casements themselves would be draft-proofed, re-squared, and fully redecorated in a lime white to match the existing colour scheme shown better on the bottom. So overall, the proposals would improve the thermal efficiency and would preserve and enhance the listed building. There have also been no objections from the Built Heritage consultant. So to the considerations and key points, again, the application accords with national and local planning policies. The design, form, layout and scale of the proposed windows and refurbished casements are appropriate, and they would not alter nor harm the appearance of the listed building, and the proposal would improve the thermal efficiency of the house and improve the living conditions for the occupants. Therefore, the recommendation for this application is to grant listed building consent subject to the conditions as set out in the report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Claire. It also actually improves the environment because it's not leaking all that heat out. Members, Steve.
Questions, first of all, Claire, if I can. Can you confirm, you see the single glazed window there, what material the new windows are going to be made out of? Because I assume that these are wooden. Is it?
I believe from looking at the application, speaking to the applicant, the casements are kind of like I believe they're like a stone material, and the glass is inserted into it. So the windows are glass, and then the casements, I believe, some are timber, but I believe these are kind of like a stone sort of material, from what I understand. But these obviously look wooden there. So those would, the idea is to, sorry? They're not changing it. No, the idea is they're completely refurbishing it, but making good. Yeah.
Thank you. That actually came as a surprise, because I assumed that they'd be wooden casements within a concrete or cement surrounding. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting that, and I hadn't seen it on the report, so maybe I just missed it. But I basically haven't got a problem with this. I think that you've indicated that a heritage consultant or a heritage company are going to do the work, so it will be well matched, because that's important, obviously, in a listed building, and you don't want to lose the character. So the windows need to be fitting for the actual house itself. And I can fully understand why they want to do it, because from an green energy point of view, it's very difficult in listed buildings where you've got single glazing to actually keep any heat in. They're not designed to keep heat in, they were just designed to keep the wind out and the rain. They weren't really designed to keep heat in. I go back to my school days when we lived in a single glazed house with metal rims, metal frames, and it was hideous at night. You'd have ice on the inside. So people today don't know they're living well, but it seems that properties like this are behind the times. We want to preserve the tradition. We want to preserve the buildings in their original state, which is why they're listed. But nevertheless, we do have to consider tweaking them sometimes for the good of everybody, good of the environment and the good of the people that are living in them. So I'm happy, having heard what I've heard, to recommend approval.
Take that as a proposal. Jane.
I'd be happy to second that, Chair. I think visually it's like for like, so from a sort of aesthetic point of view, it's going to just look the same. I think where the house is, as you said, it's got beautiful views, but it's very exposed from the front where they're looking over those beautiful views, and must be, I would think, quite cold at this time of year. So I think from an environmental point of view, as well as, from a beneficial point of view for them, I think it's a very sensible thing to do. Yeah, so happy to support it and happy to second.
Thank you, Jane. Anybody else? Okay, it's been proposed in second to allow. All those in favour? That is everyone. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cllr. We have planning appeals for noting. We will get that typo because 21 Silver Birches in Bursledon is not one of ours, so we'll get that typo looked at. And the dismissal of Glen Rosa on Hamble Lane as well. So those are just for noting. So that's the meeting closed. The next meeting is the 21st of January. And I'm going to say it. Merry Christmas to you all. I will see you before meetings, but just to close this one. Thank you very much, everyone.